episode 513 of the TV Dudes, recorded November 14th, 2024. Arcane Season 2 on Netflix. This week, because I can't read a calendar and thought Cobra Kai was already released, we're talking about a show Nick suggested.
That I've been suggesting a long time. It's Arcane, the League of Legends series on Netflix, which just dropped its first 3 episodes of its second season, and will probably have dropped its second batch of 3 by the time you listen
Saturday.
to this.
So yes. I was basically unaware of the game. I had definitely not paid any attention to the series, but Nick made a solid pitch for it, and we gave it a go.
But before we get to that, I'm Nick.
And I'm Les.
And we're the TV Dudes.
And you know Arcane isn't all we watched. What did you view, Nick?
The Diaries of the Television Dudes. Brought to you by only the finest cocaine wine.
Oh, I mean, we should start weak and end strong. So my pitch is we start with Tulsa King.
I can't imagine. I get out of my head. I was thinking, man, I know he's going to say Tulsa King. Why? Why do you think it was weak, Nick?
And we end Penguin.
Yes, I believe you're right.
So Tulsa King is...
Penultimate episode of Tulsa King. Yeah. All of these strong plot lines they built up all season, right, Nick?
Man, this one starts off with the funeral for the indigenous character.
Holy crap.
And there's just a bunch of our white guys.
I don't know that it's grossly wrong, but I get a bad feeling.
They're all talking during it and telling about how they loved Jimmy in the middle of the guy saying the speech.
Basically during the priest's eulogy.
Yeah. Whatever.
No, when the shaved head girl, I can't remember her name offhand, that can shoot.
Who cares?
Yeah, that one. When she actually says something like she says a eulogy moment. It's not like they're having a psst, hey, blah 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 conversation. Like she stops and says, Jimmy, and says something really a good line, something really nice, and oh, that's a nice moment, Grace. Thank you. Grace is her name. That's a nice moment, Grace. Thank you. And you can still hear in the background and thank you for being you guys are having your own funeral service in the middle of the natives' funeral service because of course you fucking are.
My God.
Oh man. It's one of those racist moments that you get the feeling that no one involved saw it. It didn't click.
This isn't a problem at all.
If anybody pointed it out even a little, I think they would have gone, huh.
I mean,
we should structure that scene differently.
Every indigenous person on set, because they have a lot of people there and the background actors, and they hired what's his name, the fucking go-to for any Native American portrayal needed in the show, and no one obviously from the first season we heard on set. The second season, there was definitely a feeling of no background actors say anything.
Well, I mean, as we were discovered recently off their Wikipedia page, apparently their entire casting crew for their casting agency for their background actors quit in season 2 because Stallone called a bunch of their background actors uggos and fat.
So obviously these guys got the memo of sit down and shut the fuck up, because otherwise I can't believe there was at least 50 Native American indigenous actors.
It's a crowd. It's one of the bigger, considering how empty the casino always looks. There's actually a lot of people.
And
here.
I can't believe not one of them was hey, should your main characters be talking during the I'm not saying don't talk at the funeral.
That would be wrong in any funeral in any culture.
Right. This feels disrespectful in a way that I don't think you guys want to come off
and
as.
It's not like they're halfway across the cemetery standing next to the feds or something.
They're among the crowd. They're among the crowd. The neighbors can hear. I expected someone to go, hey, shut the fuck up.
And this is basically every week now. I start the episode, I get 5 minutes in, and I'm I'm not going to be able to make this through this without...
you won't watch it without me now.
No.
We're our emotional support.
Yes, there has to be am I crazy? You just watched that, right? This is bad, right? So this has turned into a comedy. So they fired the showrunner, Terrence Winter. Then between season 1 and 2, over a difference in writing style, apparently, between him and Sheridan. Then they hired him back after the strike because there was a hole in his schedule. But why would that? It wasn't a scheduling problem in the first place. Why would that make a difference? But they didn't bring him back as showrunner. He's head writer. And there is no showrunner technically. Like Craig Zisk is kind of filling that role. So,
Okay.
And they moved production from Tulsa to Atlanta because everybody hated working in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma. So there are a ton of changes in the show. We aren't crazy. Like this season is a different show. They are, and the critics are catching it too, saying that like, no, this is focusing more on comedy than, like now it's about whatever zany heist the dumbass crew can put together, and less about like character growth and a fish out of water story.
Right.
Like one of the better mob series I'd ever seen, and I can't believe I'm saying that about Tulsa King, in season 1, and season 2 has made it so that sounds like a silly statement.
Yeah.
We were talking about it at the end of this episode when they do what's supposed to be this basically like a big opera scene at the end of Godfather 2. I mean, like it's supposed to be that scene, you know, them taking care of their problem. It feels like that problem came up this episode and was settled this episode, and we sat back afterwards and went, okay, I'm having to remind myself that technically, I guess this has been brewing all season,
right?
But it
other
does
characters
not feel like it.
But other characters haven't been reacting to it all season.
No.
Like this is the first time Dwight has been introduced to the Triad. He doesn't know about them.
Yeah.
So to the audience, it feels like we know who they are, but also like, why is Dwight invested in this? Yeah, the general idea behind Tulsa King and how if he can build what his idea of the mob is just gone. And is now this wacky, zany, put together crew.
Yeah.
And there's no internal struggle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dwight doesn't have the push and pull of sticking to his principles up against having to actually live in the real world now. How like his view of the world was untrue like 30 years ago,
right?
Like however,
but there's no wrestling with that anymore. Like he just seems baffled that his daughter moved back to New York. None of that has seemed to play out in any kind of logical fashion.
There's no culture shock anymore of him being
like Chicky in the wilderness is the weirdest thing. Like it's like I don't. What are we doing with?
Well,
these
he has to
characters?
take the train now because he took a gun to an airport,
and now he's on the no-fly list. And like, do we care about this character? What the fuck are we doing with Chicky here?
I don't know. Like, I feel like he's a joke now. I don't like.
He is absolutely, and it honestly, kind of has the same effect as Jimmy and the Gentleman. Like Chicky's such a dipshit. New York's entire multi-family gang consortium is like. All of you families look dumb by proxy now. Like,
right.
I was glad to be at least the show this season had one moment where one of the other family heads was like, so amongst all this other bullshit, also, you aren't earning, dude. Because I'd been wanting to scream that the whole season of, so does the New York mob do any mobbing?
Right.
I mean, what do you guys earn? There's 3 of you. What do you guys earn? I never even see other dudes come in and pay you.
Well, I mean, the first season had people in the room. I remember when Dwight first came in, like, don't stand behind me.
Right.
There's not even enough background actors for people to stand behind him anymore.
Right.
Like,
right.
Like, there's nothing.
There was a table of like 7 or 8 dudes in that first episode. Yeah. And I mean, God, I think back to like Better Call Saul, like watching Nacho have to sit there in the fucking storefront and just have guys come in and sit across from him and hand him money all day, and like that's just something you have to do once a week.
Yeah,
because I never see anybody pay these mobsters, man.
Right.
I can't figure out when they're actually going to
like
buy that car dealership. How does the casino make money? The weed dealership's been closed the whole season because of some emergency that again feels like it burst onto the scine in episode 9. Yeah, I
don't need to get into the minutia.
I hate watching this show.
I'm gonna be.
I haven't done that in a while.
We are
Flash. This is Flash.
Yeah. So after this postmortem for this season, I think we're
been
done.
renewed, and apparently there's a spinoff. I couldn't give
with
less
who?
of a shit.
Who would you care about?
Who moves to New Orleans at the end of this?
Right. Who? I don't know.
Because apparently that's where the spinoff is. But honestly, they feel like maybe. I don't go. Jesus God, I don't want to follow.
I wouldn't
Armand
care
anywhere.
that. But also, I'm like, but I wouldn't care about anyone. Bodie. Maybe I would care about. Honestly, Bodie would make a completely different show, and maybe I'd watch Bodie.
Right. I mean, I would watch Martin Starr do stuff.
Right.
He is wasted in this show now.
Oh man, he used to be, man. he must.
His energy was so different than Stallone's that he actually like it made it cool in the first season,
Right.
and it's gone now because it's just so fucking dumb. Anyway, man, is anybody else out there still watching Tulsa King? Are we crazy? Is everybody like, I don't know, seems the same? I can't imagine. Sound off in comments and stuff.
Yeah. I continued our animation domination thing. I actually watched finished off Digman, which cliffhangered for a season 2 that I'm pretty sure it is never gonna get, which is a hard thing. Like, he brings his wife back with what they say is the Holy Grail, but they look underneath it and it has a satanic symbol underneath, and like, oh, it's the unholy Grail. That's my bad.
That's my bad.
Sorry, they're pretty close. So she's evil now, and it does not resolve. Not that Digman has like a fucking running plot that needs to be,
but still, yeah.
But still, it's a little frustrating.
It's probably going to end up in the pantheon of great animated shows that just left us.
We watched Tomb Raider. I watched another episode of that, and I have not finished it. I don't know. Like, I think the animation's good. I think something's in the writing of like I'm much more interested. It's trying to split the difference between Survivor Tomb Raider and dual gun badass Tomb Raider, and I'm like, I think I need one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I'm more interested in Survivor Tomb Raider.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's like, they did that reboot for a reason. It gave the character an interesting,
right?
Like, she's not inherent badass. She's a learned badass with post-traumatic stress,
right?
Like, she's a survivor that now does this because she can't do anything else.
Right.
And it's much more of a fun Indiana Jones, like, isn't it fun to run around, and every once in a while they'll try and split the difference with, but how dangerous, and like, why do you do this, Laura? Why do you have to like risk your, like, why are you such an adrenaline junkie? But I don't know, I feel like it has an identity crisis that is keeping me from really being engaged. Watched some more Summer Camp Island. That was still fun. The Cartoon Network's app sucks though. Like, I can't let it run.
The other day, and it was running episodes backwards. Like, it finished up 5 for you or something, and moved to up 4 for you.
Yeah, I know. I have a hard time. I can't let it run in the back, and they're short episodes. Like, I'm like, so every like 30, like every 22 minutes, I have to click on and come back out and try and find.
Every once in a while on an app that has commercial, if you just hit play and it ran the chunks backwards, like after the third commercial, then after the second commercial, then like you would stop using that app. This is almost that frustrating.
Did we watch the latest episode of Crabopolis?
I don't know if I did or not. I went back and watched a couple I had not that I'd kind of seen bits of while you were watching them, like the Thor episode and stuff. So those were good, but I don't think I watched the most recent one.
I watched Invincible Fight Girl, a new animated thing on HBO Max, which is about a girl accountant, or daughter of accountant parents, that is going to accounting school, is going to graduate into an accounting degree to do accounting for wrestlers. Like, their island is dealing with just accounting, but also they do all the accounting for the wrestlers in the world, which are huge.
Like a huge thing.
A huge thing. And this is the island that does their taxes. And then everyone up top gets food poisoning. So now the junior associates this year have to do the wrestlers' taxes. And everyone starts freaking out. Like, they are burning. It's like Wall Street. There's people just jumping out windows and like, oh my God, no. Don't worry, we've trained you for this. Some of you might make it. And she is, of course, a huge wrestling fan and is like, this is awesome. And
that's so weird.
So she wants to become a wrestler so bad, meets some of the wrestlers, and the reason everyone's afraid of them is because wrestlers in this universe are treated like nigh gods that can basically mete out their own justice at any given time. Like, they just start ripping apart the island because someone gets something wrong on the tax code, and she challenges them to a match and uses some techniques she's learned from a VHS tape training video, and defeats this crew of like perm wrestlers. They all have these like of course everyone has this weird theme.
Has gimmicks, yeah.
Meets her old like idol wrestler that is gonna train her up, and the world is so casually weird. she goes to a bar, and like you think out of what I've just said, like all these people are basic humans, right? Well, some of the perm guys, one of them has bat wings and is just basically a bat creature. She goes to the bar, and one is a bird, like avian race, like you'd see in a D&D, like a Aarakocra or fucking bird like race, and one is just a living sentient cactus and is a wrestler. Like
that seems like an unfair advantage.
I would think, I'm like, wait, why? How does he get to that? That's not cool, though.
I feel like you win at grappling.
That's
like
not
like any hedgehog can defeat me. At
he looks a little smoother in the middle, but he's still got pricks on his fists, part of him, like and his face. So I don't know. I feel like I can't. If I'm very deterred to punching you or hitting you or grappling you in any way, I feel like that's an unfair advantage. It's very fun, very fast. Like the speed at which things happen is very much. I'm not sure how much you'd like. It's very anime inspired, as far as just like please train me. Like, no, is this a test? No, it is not a test. Leave me alone. Go away. And she starts banging. Like she starts to run to the other side of the door. Starts hitting her with a spray bottle. Like, I was like, sorry, I thought it was a test. I told you it wasn't. I thought that was a test too.
That's pretty good.
I also watched Starship Troopers Invasion. They made those animated Starship Troopers movies afterwards. This was the first one they made in like 2012 or 13.
Okay.
So it is just like all the Starship Troopers sequels. They don't really get the idea behind the first one.
What was happening in that movie? Yeah.
And so it's fun. It's cool to see the bugs tear shit up again, because that was always a fun part of that movie.
Like it's a straight sequel to a satire movie, basically.
Right. And that first movie had some cool action sequences with those bugs. They were cool.
Well, I mean, honestly, they made a satire movie out of a straight novel.
Right.
Heinlein wasn't saying what.
But what was fun about that movie was that the action movie inside it was pretty good.
Right.
It was pretty awesome.
People still Paul Verhoeven, yeah.
People melted and got ripped apart. It was awesome. And in this one, it basically happens again, but also they're all CGI characters, so it doesn't really the gore doesn't really feel good. And man, tell you how much they don't get it. They have shared showers like they did in the first one. Only now there's a super hot chick called Ice Blonde is her call tag, and she basically is naked throughout it and uses her like to distract a guy during a fight. Like she shows him her tits, and basically they all wolf whistle at her when she's showering. And I was like, no, but one of the cool things about Starship, not that anything was cool about their society, it's a dictatorship or whatever, but one of the neat things was that it was a true equal opportunity army.
They didn't give any fucks about
it. They didn't really care. They all showered together because they didn't care about nudity. Yeah. Like that whole shower scene was there. Everyone describes their motivation in the shower scene. Remember? Like, oh, I'm here to make babies, and no one says I'll make a baby with you or whatever.
Right.
No, it's like, oh, I'm here to go to get a degree for college, and if I serve, the military will pay. And like everyone's as naked as a fucking jaybird.
So like again, like in a deeper way than most of these don't get it, this one doesn't get it.
Right. It's the gratuitousness without any of the message behind it, and it kind of sucks,
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched the latest What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah,
I did watch
Laszlo's dad. That's always good.
Right. All right, father, you must go back from whence you came, or I will suck you off.
No, son. Yeah.
He's got the Ghostbusters power pack of like completely. It was a parallel thought. I thought it up at around the same time.
Yeah, with Colin Robinson going, yeah, his invention of it coincided remarkably with me showing him Ghostbusters 2. No, it's a parallel thought.
Colin Robinson's Funko Pop figures, and also
him constantly reminding Colin Robinson that you did have a father figure. I was your father figure.
Yeah. I remember when you blew up and then became a child.
Colin Robinson's total denial of that, like, because he didn't remember last time what was about to happen either. Like,
right.
He didn't know what it was. So like, it makes sense that it fades for him. So he's like, yeah, no, if you keep telling people that, they're gonna think you're like.
Nadja and Nandor are fighting shapeshifters across the street because the people in the house keep changing every time they leave and come back
after they discover a window,
because they discover a window in the side of like.
I love how aggressively they're playing with the it's season 6, we just found a new thing. Like
like that is part of the gag of like, why, how have you found out? Like, nope, there's a new window we've never figured out
neighbors
before.
on that side of the house too. No, not Shawnee.
Yeah. And then and they can't get the idea behind an Airbnb. Guillermo's like, oh, so I guess I never did. You know what? No, I definitely did explain it to them. They were definitely not listening.
Like, you know what hotels are.
Yeah, so I like that it seems like the previous seasons they kind of went away from dual stories, A and B stories.
And we're back to that.
The last season is very much like, well, smoke him if you got him. Any idea for a story, we're doing them, and we'll do 2 at a time to like burn through. That was basically what I had.
Well, as usual, I watched a little bit of Parks and Rec. Just can't resist. I watched this week's High Potential. They took a week off because of, I don't know, something going on last Tuesday. But they're back. This was actually their best episode so far, I think, in terms of energy and plot and character use and everything.
Okay.
They have a hostage situation at the precinct.
Okay.
Where like 2 people break in and are like, so you've got the wrong guy held, and I need you to, like, it seems open and shut and y'all are done investigating. I need you to find the right killer or we're going to blow everybody in this building up. But the whole thing works out really, really nicely. One of their best episodes, I think. Also, watched with Fanny. She's a huge Bruce Springsteen fan. I like Bruce Springsteen. Fanny's a much bigger fan than I am. Fun fact, his fans are called tramps.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like about half. So we watched the Road Diary documentary, which covers this huge kind of last tour he did after COVID was over. Like a lot of big touring bands. He was like, well, I was planning on, he's like 70 something. Like I was planning on doing a last tour, and then COVID happened, and I was like, seriously?
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of made a pledge that like we're gonna fucking blow it out if the world opens back up.
All
so right. They did this. It is a huge like 3-hour retrospective show. The documentaries, I mean, as you would expect at this level of documentary making, it's really nicely done. Interviews with a bunch of different band members. All, if you're not in the E Street Band anymore, it's because you died in the E Street Band. Like it's the same band from Jersey when they were kids. Like it's really remarkable for that large a group of people. One of the guys, it's that dude's kid in the band still. But they interview with all of them. But when they actually talk to fans at the shows, they almost exclusively talk to overseas fans. And I don't think I've really ever clicked how popular Bruce Springsteen is worldwide.
No, man, he's like,
man,
you think
the
he's
Catalan
here.
region of Spain is fucking bug shit to a person for Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah,
it's wild.
It's like what was it in Miss Marvel, the show,
right.
Like where they had their like cover band on like the forget, like was that also Bruce Springsteen? I
think so.
Like, but like they were like the whole thing was completely bananas, and everyone in that community was just like, oh fuck yeah, the boss.
Like it's absolutely wild watching all these fans overseas just fucking screaming along. Like even they add in like some bigger horn section for this tour. Like they added in some choir singer, more backup singers, some different stuff. So people who had not been on a world tour with Springsteen and the E Street Band, who were like, yeah, man, people just kept telling us, oh, this wasn't nothing. Wait till Barcelona. And we were like, why does everybody keep?
Why does everyone
like?
Keep
It was a
saying
very like
Barcelona?
Bangkok has him now. Like, why does everyone keep saying that? And then they get to Spain and they're like, holy shit, man! Hey, this is the biggest crowd I've ever seen. They're all singing. They are all jumping up and down and singing along. This is nuts. It was fun. It was a good documentary. It doesn't bring anything like wildly new to the story of Springsteen or anything. You know, if you don't want to watch a Springsteen documentary, this one's not gonna like. There's no need to see it outside. It doesn't break any doors down in the documentary genre or anything.
Sure.
But if you like Springsteen, it was really cool. Also, other documentary I watched in prep for Friday night's like Battle of the Ages. I don't mean epochs. I mean literal. Like one's 27 and one's 56.
Battle of the Generations.
Battle of the Generations. So Battle for the Generations. Tyson Paul fight. I watched the Netflix little 3-part documentary series leading up to it because Of course, someone at Netflix suggested that they make a promo for their fucking fight.
Yeah. I mean, why not? Like, why not milk this for all it's gonna fucking...
I realized I was searching around to see if, like, well, where's the footage of Tyson training, or how do, how do they each look? And I was like, well, wait, I could just watch this fucking documentary on it. I've never really cared about boxing in my life. Like every kid that grew up in the 80s, 90s, I watched some Tyson fights, or was really aware of, you were very aware of Tyson as a kid. Mostly because your dad and his friends were probably bitching about having gotten everybody over there and cracked a beer for pay-per-view, and if you went to the bathroom at the start of the fight, you missed the fight.
Yeah.
Because Tyson would knock people out in like under 20 seconds, and oops, no more fight tonight. I guess everybody goes home. Hope you closed your tab out already. So, like, I was always aware of him, but I never gave a fuck about boxing, really. And I don't really know shit about Jake Paul. He seems like a douchebag.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, I don't actually have a beef against this guy. And adjudicated in court, I know Tyson's not a great person.
Yeah.
So, like, I really shouldn't be rooting for Tyson, but I am. I really would
love
like
the
to...
unquote, like, yeah, but I am, though.
I would like to see, like, you go to war with the soldier you have. I kind of like to see this dude, like...
So I think for me...
beat Jake Paul stupid.
For me, it is the Jake Paul... or is, like, the Logan Paul... like
his brother, yeah.
And the PewDiePie, like the internet famous influencer people of my generation. I hate them. Like they're the reason. Not the reason. Everyone always treats the younger generation like, oh, pat them on the head and you'll learn someday. That's always been the case. But they are very much perpetuating the why should anyone listen to Gen Z or millennials? They're fucking.
Jake Paul's not helping that kid.
They're selfish, self-centered dummies.
Yeah. And that impression, I feel like, comes from the influencer class.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm generalizing because I don't know a bunch of people in that generation, but I see this fuckwit
a lot, right? Like, yeah, well, I mean, eventually you're gonna have you around the people you made friends groups, you stop making friends, right. And then,
like, given the existence of Joe Rogan, I don't blame people for generalizing, like, the whole, like, Gen X of, like, yeah, you guys shut up. I get it. Our biggest mouthpiece is a dipshit.
Right. So I'm just more rooting for him to lose,
Yeah.
And I know that's shitty. And
his guaranteed purse is twice of Tyson's. He's going to make 40 million guaranteed. Tyson will make 20. No matter what happens.
That sucks. I'm sorry. That's bullshit.
And I think that's a little bit bullshit. I also think it helps Logan. It doesn't help Tyson's brand to prove that he can whoop this kid.
Tyson has to come out of retirement to fight this kid, and he's going to make less than Jake Paul for the honor of fighting Mike Tyson. That's the reason he wanted to do it, right?
I would think. I think it helps. I mean, honestly, if there's one person on earth that I would still go around and get free drinks at bars bragging that he knocked me out, like, you could get free drinks at a bar bragging you lost to Mike Tyson.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, that's cool.
Like, I mean, of course a dude knocked me out. Like, well, who? Was it, some Girl Scout? Like, no. Mike Tyson knocked me out. Oh, yeah, no, that's fair.
Honestly, the problem with Prince trying to kill Michael Jackson's mom with a car is that one of them was Michael Jackson. Because if Prince tried to kill my mom with a car, that's the greatest story I've ever had. Like, can you believe Prince tried to kill my mom with a car? Like, it was awesome.
I did something in my life that so personally and directly pissed Prince off that he knew who I was, found out who my mom was, and aimed a car at us.
That's great. Like, honestly, that would be like one of my greatest life achievements.
Because the net takeaway would be your life touched Prince's in a meaningful way.
Yeah, that's that's huge. Like, but I know I shouldn't. The years have jaded me in a way that I feel like a person under 40 shouldn't be.
Did something happen recently?
Recently, I feel if I was in my 20s, I would look down at you and me right now for you're rooting for someone to lose. That is shame on you.
Right.
Like, that is...
Like, what is your beef with Jake Paul?
What is your beef? Like, that has nothing to do with it. It doesn't affect you in any way.
He's an idiot online.
Why don't you rise up and be better? And current me is... I also still kind of agree with younger me, but also current me is a little more tired and kind of like, hey, younger me, maybe just let me have a couple of these.
Right.
I'm not saying I'm gonna root for every person's downfall and relish in the failures of my enemies.
Yeah. And I mean, a huge part of it is just ageism. By all accounts in that documentary, it looks like looks like Jake Paul's putting in the work and doesn't seem to be a terrible boxer. All of that said, I still want to watch his brain bounce across his skull.
Well, I mean, I would want, if I was a boxer, I would want to show him up because, hey, I trained my entire life to be a boxer. Like, I started when I was a child, and you're treating it like a hobby later in life that you're just gonna pick up. Fuck you.
And true, and honestly, if there's a sport interesting thing to me about actually wanting to watch it Friday night it's rare at a professional level of any sport to see the difference. Like when heavyweight fighters fight, often you can't quite tell how hard they're hitting each other. You know they're supposed to be hitting each other really hard. But because they both are professionally trained to do it, it looks kind of even.
Right.
And you don't always get to see the technique stand out. Like if you watched a pro football player walk onto an intramural field on college, you'd watch some absolute freak show athletic feats. You know, because he's going to run freak show circles around people. And like, I'm really hoping to see what the difference is in God, I keep doing that. In Jake Paul being recently shown very well by great people, but recently shown how to angle your feet, how to swing your hip when you throw a punch, and making all that habit that he doesn't have to spare any brain power to think about. Because I don't mean this as an insult, but Mike Tyson's not sparing any brain power to think about how to hit you.
No. That's
ingrained in him. That bulldog dive in.
His form is from a lifetime of it. It's a thing of like, if he were to ever throw, I bet you it would be harder for him to throw a bad punch now.
Right. I think Jackie Chan, hammered drunk, flailing a bad punch would still hit me harder than I could hit you trying.
Hey, I think if you asked Mike Tyson, like, hey, throw a punch that won't knock me out, he would have to like think about it for a second and go, I guess,
can I pull this enough to
like, if I go so slow, I'm just tapping you. Like, it would be hard. Like, you need me to hard enough to punch you but not knock you out. I don't know if I can.
The other thing I didn't realize until the documentary, a lot of the boxing guys on both sides were listing off what does age take away from you in terms of boxing skills. And stamina is generally the first thing. Your speed and agility, if you've got arthritis or anything in your hips or anything, you just can't move the same. But the last thing to go is power. Apparently an old man, if you stand there in front of him and let him swing at you, that dude's gonna hit you about the same fucking strength if he stayed in shape.
Interesting.
That like your muscle power, you lose the other factors first. Which is not good for old Jakey.
Right. The one thing that Tyson is fucking known for. You ever I noticed that no one, and I know why, but no one ever gets into into a sport, like no one ever gets into football late in life and like decides I'm going to be a football player. Right. Like I think the last time anyone's done that is switching careers, like Michael Jordan becoming a fucking baseball player.
Yeah.
But no one just dabbles in a professional athlete like realm, except for maybe like golf.
Master P tried to get into basketball because he had been really good in college, I think. And that was in the 90s, like No Limit, like rap.
Sure.
He was a rap producer. But yeah, no, it's not something you don't usually go pro sport.
And I know why fighting is different is because fighting is singular and you're the star. If you have to join a team, what's the point? Like self-centered weirdos that want to join a sport late in life, why would they do it as a football player when they're part of like 26 guys, or of soccer where they're part of 11 guys? They want to pick a sport where they are the center of attention.
And then I think that brings us to what is easily the best show, the Peacemaker shock, holy fuck show of the year, I think.
Well, we can see like, okay, DC can make a comedy out of its properties. Could it make a drama?
Right.
And honestly, the drama is better when they don't take it as seriously. Because in the beginning,
it's not a.
Because in the beginning of this show, he like that when Penguin comes up, when he shoots that, like,
well,
fuck, and now it is full drama.
Oh man,
in a way that.
Oh my lord, man. So this season has seen jaw-dropping red wedding type murders, like Sophia kills her whole family. Bombs go off, like Penguin kills Maroney. like, you know, we've seen shitloads of people die this entire season. It's not like it's been, you know, sparing me like horrible scenes or heartache or whatever. This final episode absolutely took my breath away in terms of an on-screen death so sudden and shocking and gut-punching, and yet when you see it, when you realize it's about to happen, you realize that it's inevitable and you just didn't want to face it.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how much to spoil here.
So if you haven't watched Penguin, you should just go watch Penguin. Otherwise, we're gonna put in you should go look at the show description and jump ahead.
Yeah, you can jump ahead. Starting now, because I want to talk about Christy Milioti as a fucking unbelievably original villain, and thank God she's gonna make it into a later, like, not guaranteed. I'm sure they might take a break from her for a minute, but leaving her open,
right,
to
return
they put
later. That stinger in. She's back in Arkham. Her man is her therapist again, so you know she could escape if she needed to.
Right.
Well, recommended out, you know.
But also in a way that they leave a character alive that doesn't feel like you're just leaving her alive.
Right.
Because when she realizes she's about to go back to Arkham, it's some great.
My Lord, the look on her face.
It's some great nonverbal acting. She's at peace at the bridge, about to get shot. She's like, well, you know, them's the breaks, until the fucking helicopter lights come on,
and she realizes Oswald's gone.
That he's gone. Like, motherfuck. Because, like, that's really, and honestly, like, Oz's plan needs a fall guy too,
mm-hmm.
But also, like, you made it personal, so maybe like the Penguin, when you make things personal with Penguin, he'll douse your son in gasoline and throw him to you, and then watch you both burn and kind of giggle while that's happening.
Right.
like, and that was a low level. Like, like that was just them kind of screwing him over, going back on their end of the deal. Like, Milioti fucked with his mom. Man, the mom.
The whole, like, 3 episode long back and forth reveal of letting the audience know, and who knows this information about Penguin murdering his brothers.
So they reveal Penguin murdering his brothers, which is completely recontextualizes the entire show for you. And then in the next episode, it starts with the mom revealing she knew the whole time, which completely recontextualizes it again.
Right.
Suddenly they show that night he talks about it and remembers when his mom broke out of her funk, and it's the night she was gonna have him killed.
Yes. Yeah. So he thought it was like the rebirth night and in a way it was, but not the way he thinks. And then in the moment that it all comes together with Sophia trying to get him to, like, she knows already, and the mom saying I know already, and trying to get Oswald to say it out loud for the first time in his entire life.
And he never
admit
does.
It. And you and I are sitting there going, so how deeply ingrained is this?
Yeah.
And it's the moment that galvanizes his whole character arc, because he does have one, he just gets worse.
it's the difference between, does he care about his mom, or does he care about the idea of his mom?
He cares about the reality he makes. Yeah.
Right. And because if he will admit it if he needs his mom to survive, because that's what is on the table right now, or to not have her finger cut off. Like, if he really cared, he'd admit it and just wallow in it. But if the lie is more important, he doesn't care about his mom. He cares about being mommy's special boy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing he needs and wants, which is shown later as far as
Lord.
Her,
his prostitute
girlfriend coming back in the. So we dropped all. I'm not saying that prostitutes aren't basically playing like a role of trying to get men's approvals from a mother figure in their lives.
But he drops all pretense.
But we drop all pretense about it and just like, tell me I did good. Tell me I'm a good boy.
Calls her ma.
Oh no.
Oof.
And
then the thing that I was, of course, the death I was talking about earlier.
Oh, so man, the whole season, Victor Aguilar, which I thought was
man, who's he going to be in the
great
comics?
Character. You notice how he stutters it still a little bit at the end of the final season, but his speech to the guys and his final speech with Penguin, he almost doesn't stutter at all. He's like, he's come into himself. He's fully confident within his own skin.
His whole family died, and he accidentally found Penguin, and he's become his new family.
His speech to the second lieutenants is he's bought into what Penguin is selling, like the scrappy underdog, like, fuck and being given shit, we gotta take it. And by the end of it, I was convinced they convinced me, because the whole show I'm like, he's such a good liar. I can't tell if he actually cares about Vic or if this is just a put on. And by the time of it, I'm like, oh, he actually does care about Vic.
And the beauty of it is that that's what
and how you know is because he kills him.
Right. When you realize that, like, oh, I was afraid that Vic would get hurt because Penguin doesn't really like him. Nope. It's actually worse than that.
It's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Penguin's, the dust is settling. Penguin's on the bench talking to him. Hey, we really did it, but I can't take you with you to this next. I can't take you with me to this next part. And it's Penguin in a way realizing the vulnerability that his mom, that all of that just exposed, and refusing to do it again.
Yeah,
or allow that again.
He was able to get around almost everything else, and the mom thing was a fluke. Like, he lucked out of that situation.
Yes. And so he chokes Vic to death with one bare hand, just while Vic
just struggles and begs for him to stop. Like, it is depressing and dark, and also the character arc of following, like, this is how you show a villain's arc, and how he becomes a Batman villain by the end of this. How he goes from the joke character he was in Matt Reeves's Batman
just a driver
to the guy that is like, oh no, he's the kingpin of Gotham, and he is sans any liability now.
Yeah, he's more ruthless than everyone here. That's how he's winning in Gotham. He's more sincere and more ruthless simultaneously.
Yes. Also, I love the, like, and no one can stop you now, and then the fucking bat signal comes on. Like, what a great fucking ending.
Right. And I think the one last thing that I want to mention before we move on is the casting for young Penguin. I mean, the casting for the young mom was also remarkable, but Ryder Allen is the name of the kid that plays young Oswald.
This kid is just
it's
spooky.
Not
He's
just
amazing.
That he does a freakish impression of what Colin Farrell's doing. It's that he also brings it emotionally on the like we were saying, recontextualized upon recontextualized scene of he and his ma at the club.
Right.
And Monroe's, I think.
Monroe's, I think, is the name of the club.
Him turning to her and like, I miss him too. Like,
I miss him too, and you believe him.
Oh, there's some brutal shit there, man. Like, I don't know what
too,
information was given or withheld from this actor to help him, but man, that kid got there.
Well, because he not only does you can talk like somebody, but also like truly acting like the getting the lie across and like never giving up on the lie.
The same way.
Lies.
It's wild, man.
Just smooth. Like, I miss him too, Ma. And I remember in the moment I was like, oh, he misses it. No, damn it!
And he turns back around, and the actress playing the mom is so good too. But like, we watch just the fucking horror on her face as she tries to smoke a cigarette after he says that, and knowing that he killed them, and still, because she's sitting there experiencing it.
Yeah,
she's sitting there thinking what we are. He's fucking sincere,
and just in my face,
like, and the two things aren't necessarily mutually exclusive. Right. I can have killed them and also miss them.
Right.
Like, it's the kind of lie that would pass a lie detector, you know?
Yes, like it's, you know, it's covered in a truth. Like, some of the best lies are just are cloaked in truth.
Fucking
and her staring at him,
show.
And man, his idol that he admired was basically talking to her like, okay, so you don't have a son anymore. You basically have a soldier. And how I deal with soldiers is either I find out what.
Like, you can make that work for you.
Like, you can make that work for you, or if you can't, well, then you got to take care. Like, he's got to go away.
Right.
And I could, help you out with that if you want.
And that's her plan. And then she
calls it off. She calls it off.
Yeah.
Like,
if you haven't watched Penguin yet, I would say welcome back after jumping over that, hopefully, for the spoilers. But if you haven't watched Penguin yet, go fix that. You could have done so on the break while you had us on pause. Right now. Go get a free week of Max and just fucking binge through this thing. It's so good.
It's like, it made me excited for the next Matt Reeves fucking Batman movie.
Right? I would have sworn nothing could do that.
Gotham's yours, sweetheart. Nothing's standing in your way now.
Goddamn right.
Now seems like a good time to mention, if you want to support our rise to the top on the Gotham of podcasts, you can support us over on Patreon. We won't murder your brothers in a sewer.
We're trying something new. It's the same podcast they use on them in Arkham.
But yeah, you can go over to Patreon, patreon.com/tvdudes, and you throw up in $1 an episode and get bonus content each week.
Indeed.
And what would be the bonus contest this week?
Well, is there someone we could ask? No, I think we are probably going to head to theaters tomorrow and catch Red One, despite all warnings against it.
Right.
The early reviews of Red One are not good. I don't care. That
fuck reviews.
That movie looks fucking
I don't care.
Awesome.
It has
so those
Jacked J.K. Simmons Santa.
So those are specifically the words that I may eat this week on Patreon. Go over there to find out.
Well, but first, let's talk about a little bit of different magic, not Christmas magic.
Right.
Let's talk about the weird, alive science magic of Arcane.
You were right, Kate. My sister is gone. There's only Jinx now.
I want to tear that laugh from her throat forever.
I'm ready.
To return peace to this city, you must declare martial law.
Topside is the real enemy. You have the chance to rally the Undercity together. You're a symbol. So what are you planning?
Watch it all burn.
Hex Tech. And Rune Magic. Arcane, titled on screen as Arcane League of Legends, is an adult animated steampunk action-adventure television series, say that 5 times fast, created by Christian Link and Alex Yee. It's produced by the French animation studio Fortiche, under the supervision of Riot Games, and distributed by Netflix. It is set in Riot Games' League of Legends universe. It primarily focuses on Sisters Vi and Powder, who becomes Jinx. The second and final season premiered on Netflix and will continue releasing, I believe, this weekend. Saturday, going to drop 3 more.
Right.
And the next Saturday, the 23rd, will drop 3 more after that.
So by the time you listen to this, probably Saturday morning. I'm not sure when it drops, like Saturday night.
But if we talk you into it, you can catch up and then be ready the following Saturday for the 23rd for the finale. Arcane was released to widespread acclaim, with praise directed at its animation, story, world building, action sequences, characters, emotional weight, sound, and voice acting.
Okay, so just everything.
Everything.
Like, you could just say, like, overall, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Some have noted the series appealed to both casual viewers who have never played the game and also longtime fans. I would agree with that. It also, this is cool, set the record for Netflix's highest rated series at the time. It also, in 2022, became the first streaming series to win a Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program.
Sure.
So it did really well, which it would had to have. It took them 6 years and an ungodly amount of money.
Oh my god!
To produce.
Well, I can only imagine the money was they avoided taking outside money to speed up the process.
Yes, yeah.
Because like you can do things well, fast.
Yeah, fast, good, or cheap.
Fast, good, or cheap. And so, like, in order to avoid outside influence, i.e., money, and for more fingers in the pie, it might not tell the story they wanted to. They got the first 2. They did it probably not cheap, but cheaper than you could.
They did it good, and they didn't just throw money at it to make it go faster.
But also, that means you needed fucking 6 years to. And when you watch it, you can see the labor of how everyone's eyes move to indicate where they're looking at in the conversation.
Little body gestures and shifts. Man, there's a moment where Jace is talking to somebody and he adjusts the cuff, like he cuffs his sleeve under his jacket. I've never in my life seen an animated character do that on screen.
No, why would you?
It's so tiny and it was so odd. It caught me off guard of like, it's a totally human gesture. You can feel yourself do it when you're wearing a suit coat.
It's what makes them feel like real people rather than the Clone Wars cartoons where they definitely feel like action figures.
It is So the animation style is both has like a painterly graphic novel vibe, but it's also got a 3D. There's some clockwork mechanic stuff in every scene, and all of it makes remarkable use of the 3D animation. So Fortitia's style is this blend of 3D and 2D, and it. We looked at some still frames of their earlier work, and you can see the progression over years. I think this is where they hit it for me. This is great. You can animate anything you want in this style. It's fucking gorgeous. This feels like the Wild Robot DreamWorks moment of like, okay, DreamWorks, there you go.
Hey,
you were in a different league. You're in a League of Legends, I might say.
You wanted to get to Pixar level? Here you go.
Here you go. This is fucking amazing. I kept thinking of like, is it Kudo? Like the
Kubo and the Two Strings.
Kubo and the Two Strings. Like when you see a new animation house doing movies and they're like, shit.
Whoa.
Because there was an immediate like, who animated this? This is gorgeous. And the performance animation is so remarkable. And it coincides really well with a remarkably deep and thought through story for a video game adaptation.
Yeah.
The premise is amongst the escalating unrest between the rich, the utopian city of Piltover and the seedy, oppressed underbelly city that calls itself Zon, sisters Vi and Jinx find themselves embroiled in a developing conflict over clashing convictions and new arcane technologies. That does sum it up. But all right, so the first 3 episodes that you were like, just start at the beginning and be ready. The first 3 episodes are kind of a lore drop.
Well, you've watched the first 3 episodes before, back when.
I don't remember a goddamn thing about them.
Because like I remember we were talking about Arcane when it first popped out, and I was the only TV dude that was like, and it's honestly, Arcane is it's so good, it's hard to pitch.
Yeah.
Because I can't really point to one thing as far as, no, it is just very good.
Well, you have to pitch it like they just did from the earliest very, very start, because it gets so complex upon itself, but not in a way that overwhelms you or anything. It's just, man, by the end of these season 2 episodes, you have the outside countries coming in with their magic and all this new weird stuff. You have like new monsters. All these people have landed different places. You need to know all the players, and you need to know the system so that you understand how it breaks.
So I want to speak to the builds upon itself idea. There's a George Lucas quote when he was talking about making the prequels, where he was talking about when they would reference back to the original trilogy, and he would go, well, you see, it calls upon itself. You see, it echoes upon itself. And that was douchey, and I hated it. And like, but it always stuck with me in a weird way, and I don't know why. And then till I watched this, I was like, oh, you don't need to wait until like a sequel trilogy to echo upon yourself. Everything in this show builds forward to, even in ways you don't realize. Like me watching it again, I was like, oh shit, they clock Jace as a guy who doesn't haggle early in the thing, and they call it back later in his big compromise moment.
The divide between him and Victor is that Victor is lowborn and he's not. Like, he's highborn.
Right. He's what I love about Jace, played by the
upper middle class. Yeah.
What I love about Jace, that's played by the fucking great actor from
Kevin
Lucifer, Alejandro. He's so good, and he's so good in this. This might be the best acting I've seen him do.
Yeah, he's great in this.
He is the Piltover's idea of a working class, of struggling their way up, and even then, they still kind of treat him like
he thinks he's poor relations.
He's
until he gets to the like low town, like,
yeah, he doesn't understand. Well, my family built hammers. Like, no, your family owned the factory that built hammers.
Like, you didn't build hammers.
Like, you didn't build hammers. Like, you
right.
It shows that like he's willing to shake things up because of how he comes from rags to riches in his mind, and it shows how, when he meets and he actually realizes the scope of the problem, he has to change his entire outlook on it. He has to practice what he preaches to Heimendinger, which is just a silly name for his. And man,
his mentor, who's a
Heimendinger I know he means well. He has all good intentions, but Heimendinger sucks. Like, he is just the old guy that says, no, don't do this, don't do that, don't progress things, let things stay the same. not recognizing that things staying the same is a powder keg ready to go off at any time.
Well, so this show, when we say the show builds on itself, both the magic system, like they're figuring out this rune hex tech stuff. The show starts out, they've got a little bit of energy that works in batteries, but the thing they're talking about doing is cold fusion level crazy shit.
Right. Free clean energy forever.
Clean energy, basically. And teleportation and a bunch of other crazy shit. And they develop that. What we see across the show is that builds forward is like time jumps of like where that tech progresses to, what the next stage of that tech would be, what the dirty, poor version of that tech is, and then outside the city wall, you've got the like Black Rose magic guild lady. Like there's other weird shit happening out there that Heimdall kind of won't tell them about.
Well, there's like people with actual magic staffs and shit. And what's interesting about Arcane is it focuses on this city, and this city is actually until they develop hex tech, and even then it's just tech. No one's has magic wands and shit.
Right.
Like it is a very low level magic system. Like they harness magic in a way that a normal person can.
Right. And basically they are a clockwork battery civilization. Like they have an incredible mechanical engineering level of progress, but they haven't broken into like weird Jetson shit quite yet.
Well, it shows one of the characters, like Mothers, comes in later and showing that people are going to be desperate to the advancement in weapons in this is when they make it takes 5 years, but they eventually make it portable. Because like they showed like in the raw form, the little circles, like, of course, great little visual
crystals, yeah.
And then later they show like a perfectly spherical one, and it's stabilized. Like, oh shit, it's stable.
You can immediately see the difference in like a rough cut diamond, like an uncut diamond, and a perfect marble.
Because the only problem with the previous time is that it had a tendency to fucking explode and did like a nickel's worth of this blew up like a fucking building.
Yeah.
Like it was crazy unstable. And so now they make it stable, and even Heimdaller's like, oh, that's really cool. I guess like after 10 years you might be able to ready to show this. And they're like, what? But no, but right now though.
But they also got, so they've got that tech developing and all of the arms race weapon stuff that you can see coming politically from all of that. And you've got this great political divide between the city underground, which is basically just full of factory smog and shit. Right. And the city above that just wants to ignore that, which we've seen this in a million sci-fis. So you've got all of that happening. They also have this other tangentially related, like the difference in electrical engineering and a theoretical physics wing.
Yeah.
They are also studying what they call the hex core.
Man.
And that thing is close to mystic and outright dangerous. It is alive. It eats blood like Audrey 2 out of fucking Little Shop of Horrors. I
find Heimendinger stifling and kind of the opposite of like they have a progress day, and Heimendinger's all about
making it all bullshit.
And I understand there's a sacrifice you have to make in order for safety, but also there is a level of danger that a society needs to accept in order to advance. Like it's a back and forth. It's a push and pull. I will say with him that like when he sees the hex core and like, wait, are you talking about the vampire orb that like drinks blood and has now gotten a little gunkier and
like definitely looks weirder now?
Yeah. And but by that point he's cried wolf too many times.
Right.
By that point, every time th've ignored him, something good's happened.
You have to kill that. Like
but because he's been such a fucking negative, like
right.
If you've ever, he even says
when they don't believe him, you totally know why. Even though you can also tell he's completely right.
He's completely right this time, but he was wrong the last 4 times.
And so that magic building system is part of what makes this so neat and so fun, and I'm sure it's what made it a cool game. I assume is all in the game.
I don't know.
But the reason to watch the show is that it also builds on itself story-wise in a way that I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I don't see very many grown-up shows do, frankly.
Yeah.
It starts out in it feels like a very different time. When you're watching young Vi and her little sister Powder try to survive this fucking war fight shit. They get raised by this guy Vander. They're living in the underground shitty poor city, and like you get to know them. You want to sympathize with them. Watching it now, like you were rewatching it and we were discussing it as we went, but Vander is very much about holding on to the status quo because he lost his nerve for how many people get hurt in the flux of change.
Yeah.
And he did so because of his daughter, or because of these kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels like a betrayal to Silco, who was his brother in arms in the revolution.
Silco is Silco's a fascinating bad guy.
So in the first season, Silco's talking all this high-minded shit about Zahn being free and you abandon the revolution and I'm going to get it back on track and do all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also watching him, the weapon he's developing to take this to the high city is causing a massive drug scourge in your city. There's a lot of little things that's not even little things. There's a lot of things Silco's doing that reveal that he's full of shit.
Well, honestly, but
he is the bullshit he's claiming disingenuously is right.
Well, he's
right.
I thought he was full of shit, but you notice that when Jace said you have to shut down the Shimmer thing,
he said
halfway there already. The Shimmer was his way to power, so he could change things.
Right. But he never.
It was to make things so bad in the Undercity, it would force a change.
Yeah.
And we won't see what the nation of Zahn could have been, but his idea is the opposite of Vander's. I don't care how, if it has to get worse before it gets better, then let's make it worse.
And I think part of the brilliance of this show is that they keep showing people trying to make good decisions at the wrong time.
Yes.
Because Silco's waited too long to do this, and now he is just a psycho making these decisions on behalf of everybody that are getting a shitload of people killed.
Mm-hmm.
And your cause is still just, but at this point, do your ends still justify these means? I mean, do these means still justify your ends or get your ends?
Yeah, and everyone has to bump up against their ideals, and right. Silco thinks he has the advantage there because when everyone else has to bump up against their ideals, they blink. They don't have the stomach to get things done, to really make the sacrifice until the end, where he, at the end of that season, where because he adopts Jinx after Vi and Jinx have the falling out in the first 3 episodes, because Jinx just fucking no two ways about it gets everybody fucking killed. And because Vi got mad in the moment one time out of their young lives, she's spent the rest of the time we've seen her, she's defending Powder the entire time.
Right.
Making every excuse for her. But on the worst night of her life, when her father figure is dead right there forward, and Jinx comes up and goes, "What happened?"
She was going to run right back. Like a few minutes later, she was going to change her mind from running away.
No,
but she gets arrested.
But because in for the crime of feeling anger at someone,
having a bad moment.
Having a bad moment. And I find that inherently tragic. And Silco coming up with a knife, gonna kill this bitch until she hugs him.
Right.
Because like you said, Jinx's defining characteristic is weakness.
And she's a kid. At that point, it's not her fault. She's a little kid that needs comfort.
Right.
And she just jumps to the victim. And Silco, same as we were talking about in Penguin, of well, you've got a soldier, not a kid. He takes advantage of it. But I think his hurt recognizes her hurt, and it's what leads him to later really treat her like a kid and give up his principles over it. But it's partly why I think Silco's full of shit a little bit.
Right.
After Vander tries to kill him, which is the galvanizing moment of when I rose from there, I stayed with the cause pure and
the duality of the drowning man.
Right. Only I think he came out of there holding on to the rhetoric and thinking that how he wants to think of himself is this freedom fighter that's holding on to it. But I think he came out of there living for the hurt that was done to him. I'm going to complete this mission to get back at Vander.
Right.
And I don't think he's admitting to himself that for all this high-minded rhetoric, there's an emotional, personal hurt driving you, dude. And that's why at the end of it, rather than be hurt again, he abandons the freedom fighter thing.
Yeah, and I think the show smartly shows him not quite deciding that yet, and Jinx just overhearing the conversation, and then you hear him say that, and I also believe him in that moment there, but it's easy for him to say because he's tied up. But he runs up and he talks to his the statue of Vander, and is I get it now.
Yeah,
I didn't get it before.
The show plays all this out so well, and that's a character. That's not even the full arc of the dude. That's part of Silco's deal.
Well, and
it plays out so fucking well.
To speak to season 2, how that works too, of Jace ends up killing a kid in season 1 and fully realizes everyone likes to say like we should go down there and take care of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then everyone like when he fully gets down there and sees what that would take, he doesn't like have it in him like I don't want to be that.
And Vi gives him shit about it. But
and
then later on, Vi can't let
Caitlyn take a shot
kid.
at that kid.
Because what if she'd missed and hit the kid on accident? And she's like, I wouldn't have missed. I was going to shoot your fucking sister.
Right.
I mean, and I'm watching it right then. Go and take the shot. Take the shot.
Right. And
someone shoot Jinx. Like I can't express how like I feel incredibly bad for Powder in that moment when she hugged Silco in season 1. And I have no sympathy for Jinx at this point in season 2.
No, it's past. She's a mass murderer,
right? At some point, your hurt doesn't give you the right to be like this.
What's crazy to me is how she is a hero to the underground.
Yes,
like some of them are out to get the bounty or whatever, but a lot of them are like, even though they know she's actively made things worse for them.
She's horrible.
She's the one that started the whole terrorist thing that made the enforcers come down in the first place.
Her daddy issues. She simultaneously kills Silco and then steps out and completes a plan that he no longer wanted completed.
No, he got what he wanted. Like
it was a bluff.
And man,
it could be a bluff. He got what he wanted out of it.
Like the council, they were mad about it, but they were about to eat shit and give Zon make it a separate nation. And I'm honestly, I'm like, I don't know if that was the right solution, but it was a solution.
It was going to change something.
And it was going to change. And if it didn't work, then the full blame would be on the Undercity and Silco.
And then she foomps this fucking
and
grenade.
that blows up any chance of fucking coexistence
And then the second attack doubles it down because there is nobody in charge.
And man, that second attack, I knew I had a sinking suspicion about it because I was like, this second attack feels fast and coordinated for a underground that should be in chaos without Silco. And I underestimated how badly Madurta's mother needs those weapons.
Yes.
I misunderstood that. I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
you don't really find it out until the guild person shows up, and you find out as Madura is doing, or Mel is doing research into her mom. You find out that her mom has shown up here and is misrepresenting. Most of her shit's been taken already.
Yeah,
like
she's misrepresenting her power.
She's basically been, she's kind of fled here a little.
She's all but been deposed of her empire, and so she's way more desperate than she has let on. And I can't believe I didn't see it coming. Those 3 episodes. Everything that happens works to her way, works to where she is in more power. And
I love the moment where you think that she's chumped one guy into becoming the new head of whatever, and her guy just fucking forcibly sits him back into the chair.
Man, I love her second in command.
Caitlyn.
Her second in command has not spoken, I think, a word of dialogue.
No, he's amazing.
But he rules. He so sit the fuck down.
I mean,
you have no choice. You're in a wheelchair.
I could go into full geek out about every character pairing, every mirroring of Heimdinger and Silco's guy, who is Victor's father, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And
I don't think it was his father,
but just a mentor.
But definitely a mentor figure.
Like Heimerdinger was to Jace, mentor on the low town. But the parallels between Heimdinger and that guy and Jace and Victor.
Yes.
The Heimdinger, nobody's 100% good or bad. Like, I fucking hate Jinx and I have no sympathy for her at this point, but she didn't start out evil. She was a sympathetic kid who just really broke. And Vi's fucking great. Watching everybody have different lines they run into on like what's an acceptable loss and what's an acceptable...
everyone's motivations and things change. Vi is now part of the, like, she's an enforcer.
And you believe, man... Watching her walk around to that, it actually works.
It works.
It is a slap the thing. Like, I can't ever join the Bluebellies. What the fuck are you talking about?
But then they treat her like you're one that gets things done.
Well, and it's what makes it feel so realistic to me is the problem of timing. There's moments where the council could have simply been better to Zune, and it would have been, and you could have actually worked it then. By the time they realize what they're doing, when he's suggesting, hey, we got to give them their sovereignty, he's like, no, it's too late for that. We have to do this now. But then the explosion happens, so that then, like, the next time somebody wants to do something, it's like, hey, that would have been a good plan 6 months ago.
man,
but now Jace is on the side of, like, now Jace is like, fuck you, I built a gun already. We've passed that point.
The first season, I didn't realize this, but Jace is the one that grows in arcs, but ends up right at the end. He's the one that bumps up against his ideals and makes the compromise he needs to get those ideals done. He realizes what he really wants. And what he thought he wanted, what he wants is for Piltover to be better, for Undercity and Upper City. And he thought being together would accomplish that.
Right.
But when he finally bumps up against it and tries that,
we have no right to rule.
He realizes that if this was ever going to work, it's not now.
Right.
And if I really want to make things better, I have to do this. And he's one of the only characters that does that. That really changes and self-reflects of what do I want.
Almost everybody else breaks too far the wrong direction.
Caitlyn couldn't kill anyone in the first season. And now Caitlyn is and she held on to those ideals and like that's the right thing to do. And I remember watching it now, I was like, those ideals are easier to hang on to when they haven't cost you anything yet. Because her hesitation in that first season, if she had shot Jinx then, her mom would still be alive.
Yeah. The show has very careful information tracking on who knows what as well, in ways that is fun and matters and deepens character things. There's a moment towards the end of season 1, right before the big attack and everything, shit goes wrong, where Jace and Victor are talking at the kind of like the clock tower window where Victor's going to jump. And Victor's got a glove on and pants and a boot. You can't see the transformed parts of his body. And Jace at this point doesn't know that he's taken anything with shimmer in it.
Right.
But we know, and we know that because he's a little worried that Jace will hold it against him. He hasn't told Jace.
Right.
But he probably would have. Right. And then the explosion happens. Jace carries his body back to the lab.
Man, he gets fucked up.
And lets the Hex Core fix him because
he thinks
they haven't had a long enough conversation yet. He's asked him, look, you've got to destroy the Hex Core, but they haven't talked about why.
He hasn't actually said why.
And so when Jace heals him with the Hex Core, after he gets pulled into the whole thing, shit gets weird. He's like a mushroom wall, like Han and Carbonite.
Yeah, it's all sorts of weird.
When he finally blinks and gets back out, and like most of his body is now weird fucking blue muscle suit looking He-Man shit.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
The first thing Jace says to somebody is, I don't know why the explosion would do that to him and not to me.
Right, he doesn't
because
have the
he
full...
didn't know that there was, when he let the Hex Core shouldn't have done that to him, but he already had the shimmer leg and the shimmer hand. And so that's, but Jace thinks that the leg and the hand happened. He didn't know anything had happened before the explosion. And you realize that in that one line, and you know it's not the show is consistently so good that you know it's not a fuck up.
No, Jace is looking for a mistake he made when it was Victor's mistake.
But also that means that like not that they're really going to use it, but they could if they wanted. That's a blind alley he's going down in his research that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's a mistaken assumption.
Right, because
you think that the Hex Core reacted to your friend and did this, and you can't figure out what the X factor was. Well, the X factor was that your friend had taken shimmer and hadn't told you.
Right, and because of a lack of trust in the wrong moment, and like you said, like there's timing of everything, of trying to the wrong time to try and get to accomplish everyone's goals that are technically the same goals.
Yeah,
but are conflicting and hurting
and
not
in a CW secret keeping kind of way. Like this is incredibly well written and beautifully animated. Literally, like the least talented creative contribution to it is Imagine Dragons. and even that is still fine. Like the music in it's really fun. It's very fitting and great. Imagine Dragons only has like one song. Dun 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 dun. It sounds like a chicken wrote a rock song. That's every Imagine Dragons song.
Okay.
It's just chicken rock.
The
cock rock.
I also like
I think is what they called it in the 80s.
Man, the relationship between Caitlyn and Vi was growing in such an interesting way in season 1. In season 2, it breaks down in a way that is like they're the exact opposites now. Vi is the one that is cautioned, like, no, like you need to stick to your ideals and not be not be a monster in order to get things done. And and Caitlin is the one that is like, no, whatever it takes.
Right.
Like,
I will not miss that shot again.
And honestly, and she doesn't say like I would not have missed, but honestly, if she didn't, like, one kid versus
When Vi made that argument, exactly that argument earlier.
in not too long ago, man. Like that was what 2 episodes ago that you made that exact argument. And I and I don't even know how good these first 3 episodes back are, because they're going to reflect back when the next 3 come out.
They're just going to get deeper and better.
They're going to get deeper and better as they
Season
come
1
out.
was a fucking journey, man. Watching them all together in a row, I am so stoked for Saturday's next 3 episodes. This show is really, really good. I'm glad it won a Primetime Emmy. I didn't feel like I was hearing much about it. Well, I had kind of written it off, honestly, like...
it was very big.
In my brain, I thought it was Vox Machina for the longest time.
Right. It was very big the first couple months it came out. I think was a big deal.
That's most Netflix things, and then they just fucking vanish.
Dude, they locked in Haley Steinfeld and Ella Purnell 6 years before they were anybody.
Right.
You know, like
all of the voice cast is great, but you got a couple of names in there, and then man, Kevin Alejandro, Dan the Man from Lucifer.
This is his best role, like most deep and interesting character I've ever seen him play.
He really gets to grow. I see why, man. I'm glad you and your agent left on that script. Good choice. Well, yeah, I would recommend everybody go watch Arcane if you've got Netflix. Blow the dust off your Netflix subscription. Check out Arcane. I'm told by next week I will have been correct and Cobra Kai will finally be out. So I'll probably watch that. But in the meantime, we've got 3 more of this coming out, and then 3 more the next Saturday.
Right.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Which is a lot better than the months. Like there was a much bigger wait in between the first season.
I can believe it. The work here is visible on screen,
and I'm pretty sure this is the last season. Like they're not doing any more.
It's the final one.
Which makes sense. It's a long fucking
but I want to see whatever Fortiche does next. I think they've hit their stride.
Right. I'm very interested. I want to go back and see the short they made. Apparently they made some other content like in this style that I'm very interested in checking out.
Well, I think that's probably going to wrap it up for us this week. Tune in next week when we actually discuss the final episodes of Cobra Kai over on Netflix.
Oh, sure. When we actually strike first. Well, I mean, we got to wait for the fight to start before we strike first. Right. Otherwise, we're kind of just committing assault. But until next time,
TV Dudes out!
I will lead a strike team into Zorn with 3 objectives. Locate Jinx. Dismantle Shimmer. And neutralize any agents still loyal to Silco.
My sister is gone. This has to end.
Jinx! Finally got the name right. Sister.